Welcome in the Stiffs. Thank you very much to our sponsors for Series 2, Budgeon Motors. Been established for 40 years, best car dealership in Shropshire. Welcome everybody to another episode of In the Stiffs podcast. We are at the Sweeney Hotel. What a place this is. On the way to Oswestry. Anybody in the area worth staying here? Dave, you've been here before for a wedding. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I was best man here for a wedding.
How's that worked out?
How'd it go, Dave?
A divorce a few years later, but no, it's a lovely place.
So the couple are no longer together, but that's nothing to do with the venue.
No,
Venue's
just the best man speech.
Brilliant. We are joined today with an absolute Everton legend. 461 appearances, made captain of Everton at 23 and went on to be the most successful captain in their history. Won the FA Cup, the League twice, UEFA Cup Winners' Cup, 59 caps for Wales, captain for many of those appearances, a superstar, then became manager of Chester and Shrewsbury, where he actually went on to sign me twice, which suggests he was probably a lot better player than maybe a manager.
Went a bit downhill after that.
It's all about judgment.
It's all about player recruitment, this management, isn't it?
Flipping, what a CV that is, by the way.
Welcome onto the podcast, Kevin Ratcliffe.
Cheers, pal.
Lovely to have you here.
I don't know what to call you, whether it's Kev,
Yeah.
boss,
I was like
gaffer, rats.
I never bossed you, though, did I? I wasn't.
No, I was in and around the.
How old were you, Dave? How old were you, Dave, when Kevin
So I was
was
16.
Yeah,
so I was in and around the first team. Not quite ready.
Well, yeah.
Not
Were you
quite
an
ready.
apprentice when I was there? I thought I'd
As
gone
a
by
fit-
then. I
no,
thought
fit-
we'd been relegated by then.
I was a first year white. Yes, I was.
Are you older than Joe then?
1 year older, yeah.
You must have been, because we had Joe in, didn't we?
Yeah, Joe in as well.
Training,
Yeah, so I trained a few times, but it's the following season I came through.
Yeah.
But yeah, fellow Welshman.
Yeah.
Born in North Wales, Mancot. Good upbringing.
Very good. And had some good players from the area. I play for an under-11 side called D-Side Primary Schools, and I'm one of a few that have done quite well in football. Myself, Rushy, Gary Speed, Michael Owen, and Barry On.
All from the same?
All from the same
Something
area.
in the water there, isn't there?
Yeah. So we've
that's not bad, is
we've
it?
all
Some good players there.
respectively played over 50 times for our selected countries and captained our selected countries as well. So
That's amazing,
That's
isn't it?
unreal, that
That's
place.
not a bad little pool of
honestly, it was a hotbed, and that was just, at the height. Anthony Norman, remember Anthony Norman? He was at Sunderland, the goalkeeper.
Oh,
Tony
yeah,
Norman.
Tony Norman, of course. I
played with Tony and at five-a-side. He played out then.
That is unbelievable. What do you put that down to then? Is that just luck?
Water.
Darren
Tinson, remember Darren Tinson?
He came to Shrewsbury. We played.
Yeah, he's from the same area. So there's quite a few that never made the top level, but made a living out of the game. And you've got who's the lad that played with you at Wales? The lad from Buckley, just up the road. Well, the two of them really. Both played for Stoke, I think, as well. No, Shawcroft.
Yeah, Ryan Shawcroft.
Shawcross.
He didn't play for Wales.
He
England,
didn't,
wasn't he?
Yeah. But
He tried to get him a few times for Wales, but he was waiting for the England call-up.
Was he?
Yeah.
Not sure how that's going, right?
How's that going for you, Ryan?
Missed the boat there.
Missed the Euros there, mate.
obviously his phone line weren't working. No, the other lad was, I think he played for Sunderland as well. Sam, don't think
Another Welsh lad.
Yeah, from Buckley. Yeah.
Like Robert
I hope there's some houses for sale there. I'll get one.
I'm moving the kids there.
Yeah, it's been quite good, all along that sort of our neck of the woods. You got like some Mike England player from Holywell, or Fun and Grew as it is, and then there was Roy Vernon, which you might not remember, but he was a fantastic player. Tommy G. Jones, who was from Connorskey, going further back. So it's been a hotbed really.
I think that's because it's more obviously rugby down South Wales. North Wales just was more football in general, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's no doubt about that. It was football, and
was it the Merseyside teams that you would all support? Or was it Wrexham, Chester?
Yeah,
quite a lot of clubs,
Chester. Yeah, it was Wrexham, Chester, because obviously you got the Mickey Thomas and Joey, Eddie Ned, Mark Hughes just down the road from here in Ruaben. So it's
amazing when you think about it.
That's unreal. So it's always going to be football for you then, Kev. What was obviously you played in around
rugby. I played rugby, and I got told to stop because I was not bad.
Yeah, good at football.
Yeah, well, no, but not bad at rugby.
Oh, okay.
So I got told by Everton to stop playing rugby, to sort of like concentrate on you.
And that was the first stage for you, I suppose, was it? Was it academies back then, School of Excellence type thing?
YTS.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit different because what you do is you sign at 16 and then you sign a pro contract when you're 18, if you're good enough. So
I think that's what we all did, wasn't it? That's sort of similar.
Yeah,
then.
we were.
Like, yeah, we were.
But what about before that? So what? You obviously were you schoolboys or what were you doing?
Schoolboys. I never signed for Everton on schoolboys until I was about just before I was 15. My dad kept everything away from me.
You were playing local football.
Burnley had been knocking on the door because we had quite a good sort of scout from Burnley in the area that used to take the lads across and everything. And I'd been down to Tottenham. Didn't like it. I stayed on the bloody Broadwater estate when I was there. So you know what happened there with the police officer and everything back in the day. Yeah. So that's where I was pitched in digs, and I just didn't get the feel for that. The only reason I went was because of the coach, and the coach was an ex-coach of Everton, a fella called Wilf McGuinness. And Wilf McGuinness was the coach, and that's why I went down there hoping that I could meet him. Taffy Kendall was the keeper. Terry Boyle was down there. Glenn Hoddle was a few years older. And
do you think it's because of where you came from in terms of small community, being thrown into London, it's just not quite...
Wasn't your bag.
Your thing, out of your comfort zone? Just didn't quite feel it?
Just didn't... You've got to get on with the lads as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
I just felt that... I went to Manchester City and I just didn't like it because I didn't like the lads.
Yeah.
Didn't like the Manchester lads because the Manchester lads hated anybody from outside of Manchester coming in. You know, that was the Barnes, one of the Barneses.
Big thing that though, like how you fit in, because it's hot. You know, when you're going on trial and that, it's a big deal, isn't it?
I nearly signed for Chester. That was the club that I was going to sign for.
Is this what age? What age is this?
I was 14, 15. So I'm going into Chester. I haven't signed.
What would Chester be in their League Two?
Well, the old
third. The old third or fourth. Old fourth. Who was the manager? Ken Roberts.
Yeah, right.
And this is where you were saying about how did I get to know Ken. Well, I was 14, 15 years of age, and I got an injury. I got a hamstring injury jumping off a bus. And thought I was quicker than the bus, but I wasn't. Jumped off the bus, tweaked my hamstring. I've got a trial for the under-15s over in Knighton, down the road here. Yeah. So I've got a trial coming up in about 6 weeks' time, and I need to get fit. So Cliff Sear, who was the youth team coach then, said, "Why don't you come in? We'll get you fit, and then you can go and have your trial." So I was there, and I used to get in for about 8:30, have a bit of treatment, and then they did a deal with the school that I could come in for 9:30, which was in Connors Quay. So who ran me back to school was the manager, Ken Roberts, and I thought, you know, and a manager.
That's
going out of his way to actually take me to school.
Was that because, or you were top class? Were you a brilliant footballer as a kid?
I think they knew that
you were decent,
and they'd said I'd be in the team within the first year of being an apprentice, which most probably you would, because Rushy was right after me the next year, and he got in the team and was transferred. I played in the youth team a couple of times, and we got good results. And I was playing midfield then. I was playing left side midfield, and it was I enjoyed it. The lads were great, and I really and then Everton come in, and I went to Everton, and that was it.
Totally different.
Straight away.
As well,
and the training facilities. Colin Harvey, one of my idols, was the coach, and they just fussed over me and got me to sign.
How did you feel about? Well, you must have been. Were you a bit nervous about going into that environment? Did you think you were good enough?
I'm not too sure. I can't remember really, Sam, if I was, nervous going in. I suppose you are really at that age. I think I was more nervous after I'd signed, and then you go for your first day as an apprentice.
Yeah.
Well, talk us through, what's it like an apprenticeship like back in them days? It's a bit different to what it is now, isn't it? I'd imagine.
Yeah. I mean, you got to get your songs right, haven't you?
Yeah. We've done. We were up in Newcastle doing Michael Bridges week, and he said, like, when he was at Sunderland, and we strapped him to the goalpost, stripped him naked, polished it.
We did that with John Ebrell.
Everything like that.
He tied him to a tree. Absolutely bollock naked.
Yeah. You look back on that, you get done for that now, though, wouldn't you? I mean, that is
even now. I've said, can you cut that?
Well, we did say, didn't we, off air and on air, like so many of the things that went on then that we're all definitely part of on the receiving end. And
but it made you. These kids now, they can't do anything without showing them how to do it on the laptop.
But they don't even need to do it because they're on different sites, aren't they? A lot of
they don't do the YTS.
They don't clean the bath
they?
like we used to be cleaning the bath. Peter Reid would have a bath, wouldn't he? Leave it in there. There'd be all sorts of hair and that in there afterwards. You'd be there picking out the hairs out the plug hole and all.
That's off his arse. Not on his head.
Yeah, not on his head. No.
But like you say, it was like we've spoken about it previously on the podcast, Kev. How it's the making of you, isn't it? You go through times, and all right, maybe it goes a bit too far. And me personally, my YTS was like 4 hours away from home, and you think, fucking, can I be dealing with this? But actually,
it's not just that; it's training as well.
Yeah,
the high pressure training.
Yeah,
people in your face, in your ear, snapping at you, and
you got to be resilient, haven't you?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, if you're playing for the first team, you've got 44,000 fans screaming blue murder at you. How are you going to handle that? Yeah, what is it for these players now that go out there and experience that for the first time? And you wonder why there's so many, there's so much mental health, in the game now, is because, that upbringing, right away from school, by the way, the way they get away with, and they know how far they can push teachers, everything. I seen that changing, when I was at Shrewsbury, certainly did. I seen it changing slowly and slowly. I didn't like it. You no longer got control over the players.
You think a bit of entitlement from the young players, and then they suddenly have agents or whatever, and they think they're not.
It started.
What about reserve football? Is that not a big thing? Reserve football, back in my day, I was just telling the lads, like if you didn't play in the starting 11, you played for the reserves midweek. So I would play as a young kid at Sunderland when I'd be 17. I'd play against Liverpool reserves, and I'd play against Rigobert Song and whoever it would be, McAteer or Gerrard or Carrick, and they'd all be playing foul. They'd all play, and there would be a battle, and you'd play against men, and you would get battered.
Yeah, but who were you playing with though, Sam?
Yeah, I'm playing with men. Yeah, exactly.
You're playing with
I'm
men.
looked after as well because I've got Kevin Ball in centre mid to me going. If Rigobert Song smashes you, Sam, I'll go and smash him. Yeah. And you're like.
Well, my first game for the reserves was against Preston North End.
Is this when you're still an apprentice?
When I'm apprentice, and I'm playing with a load of old pros. Terry Darracott, who passed away the other week. Mick Buckley, who's no longer with us. Roger Kenyon, Neil Robinson. People like that, George Telfer, who all played first team football. And I partnered, not that day, I think it was Dave Jones, manager of Wolves, and I played with him as well. And I'm playing in the game, playing against this big Irish guy. And he was quite experienced. Hadn't played at the weekend, so obviously he was out to get you. So I played alongside that night. I remember now, Pat Hurd. So me and Pat played centre halves together, and Pat smashed him. So the guy turned around to me and says, "You do that again, I'm gonna put this on your chin."
It wasn't me. It was him. It wasn't me.
and I went, "You are," and he went bang and punched me. And I just went, and I was just stunned that he'd actually punched me. The next minute, Terry Darracott is chasing this guy around the pitch. Yeah. And that's my first experience.
And that's how you grew up, isn't it?
And how you grew up. But I learned my trade through Roger Kenyon, because he was in the reserves. He was so unlucky not to get an England cap, but he was a top player. Yeah. He was quick, he was hard, and he was a good footballer. Everything that I thought a centre-half had to be. And he used to guide me. Don't go there, come here. I'm pulling me all over. It was absolutely brilliant. And I think it's a massive loss to the Premiership and to the Championship that we haven't got reserve sides. We haven't got the Lancashire A, Lancashire B, where you had a youth team playing in the Lancashire A, or you had players who were coming back from injury. You had players who couldn't get in the reserves playing for the A team. And then you had the youth team being the B team. And it was just an education, which should have been carried on. And if you ever speak to Alex Ferguson, he actually thinks exactly the same. It's the worst thing that ever happened.
I think I know the answer. Why do you think it wasn't, Kev? Why do you think they've gone down the 23s route and the whole...
I just don't know. I think, football now, I never took any badges. I wouldn't take my badges because I would have a plumber teaching me how to coach football, right, in them days. It's changed now. Yeah. It's completely changed. It's a lot better. But, I never... there was never a footballer teaching a plumber how to plumb.
Of course, yeah.
I think it was like when you said about that, it's not even just like seeing playing with men. It was like you just said there, Kev. you're playing with an experienced centre-off who's coaching you through the game. So I'd be playing, like I say, if Kevin Ball was in the reserves, he's playing centre-mid and I'm playing left wing. He's telling me where to go.
It made your job easier as well.
But if I'm playing in under 23s, I'm with other lads. If they don't know the game,
we can all recall that mentor that you looked up to playing in the Resis, or someone like when you got on the periphery of the first team. We can all recall that.
Noah Blake.
Yeah, Blakey. Yeah, he was like when I was at Exeter, he just literally scared the life out of me, and then.
He scared the life out of himself when he looked in the mirror.
Yeah, but Blakey took me under his wing, and again, there's elements that you look back and you think,
he was manager there for a while as well.
Yeah, I think he was assistant to Peter Fox, and then he went on and he was really well respected in the England setup. He's an agent now, but he's a great guy.
He was at Stoke, wasn't he?
Yeah,
and he was at Stoke and be the academy director or something.
Yeah,
like
maybe
that.
I'm not sure. I just know.
I think he managed. I think he was the manager when we played him. Sam, were you there then? When we played him and stayed up? Last game of the season.
I wasn't there then.
He wasn't there then. Yeah. It might have been for a short time. It might have been a short time because I think maybe when Peter Fox went. But he went on obviously to develop with England as a coach. But back then he was quite raw, a little bit old school footballing wise. And he just took me under his wing. And I lived in the same house as him because we were in Diggs, and he was from Stoke. He's in Newcastle under Lyme. And you're 4 hours away from home, young lad, and you need someone to put an arm around you. And he did that for me. And again, on the training field, he was really vocal and but hard guy. Wouldn't stand any messing. So he had that balance, like we were talking there about the entitlement. Blakey for me had the real balance of going, right, I will put my arm around you when you genuinely need it, not when you want it, but when you need it. And then if I need to be hard on you, he could definitely do that.
Well, you need getting through games as well.
Yeah,
when you're younger, you're not as you're getting your fitness level. And how many players give up? And you need an older pro pulling you through. Talking to you, getting that little bit extra, getting that extra 10% out of you, so that you get there in the end. Yeah. And you don't give up, and that's it. And before time, you're released as a player. But I had a great upbringing. It was tough. There's no doubt it was tough and it was hard.
Wouldn't change it though.
No, you wouldn't change it. No. That high pressure training, people in your face. I was lucky that I had a really good manager in Howard. Howard was fantastic. He was a state of the art. Some of the training that he used to do.
Was he your manager? He wasn't the manager when you were an apprentice, though, was he?
No. Colin Harvey was my manager. Right the way through. As a YT, then as a reserve, he got promoted to the reserve team when I was in the reserve team. I got in the first team, and then he was the change for Everton Football Club in the 80s because we were going through a really dire, and three things changed. Played it in a game and we're losing 1-0. We end up winning it 2-1, but with 20 minutes to go, we're still 1-0 down. And Peter Reid comes on as sub. And you've got to remember, there's only one sub then.
Yeah.
And he comes on, he changes it. We win the game 2-1 with a last-minute goal with Graham Sharp. And the following morning, he promotes Colin Harvey from reserve team coach to first team coach, signs Andy Gray on the Thursday. Derek Mountfield gets in the team about 2 weeks later, and we go from a bottom six side to a top six side by the end of the year, getting to an FA Cup.
And he was that close to losing his job.
Yeah. It was unbelievable how close he was, but everybody dug deep for him because you know what you're like when you're young. For a manager to treat you like Peter Reid and Andy Gray, who were 28, 4 or 5 years older than you, for them to treat you the same. It was just...
Thing,
you're onto a good thing, so you want to do everything.
Well, he gives you a responsibility and he gives you faith, and you feel you've got to pay him back a little bit.
So rewinding back from there a little bit, making your debut. So I think I'm right in saying you were on the bench and didn't get on a few times, but then you made your debut at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
And your second game was an FA Cup semi-final.
Yeah.
That's
baptism of fire, isn't it?
Yeah. Talk to us about the Old Trafford one. Were you supposed to be starting? Someone get injured?
Yeah, somebody got injured. It was John Gidman.
Yeah.
He was a right back. I'm going just to do the kit, but he gets ill in the afternoon.
They didn't put you right back, did they?
No. Well, people say, why were you playing right back? You had number 2 on your back. If you see quite a few games of old footage, that'll see me in games where I've got number 2.
So you had number 2
on my back, but I played centre back because a lad called Billy Wright, who was a centre back, went to right back, and that's how my career started. Really, I had to play against Joe Jordan. It was,
What were you like, Kev? Were you, obviously Old Trafford and then semi-final. Were you nervous there? Are you revelling in it? Did you have enough time to even think about it?
No, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's where the manager was pretty good. I think more so on the semi-final because I was rooming with a lad called Joe McBride, a left winger. The game on the Saturday we drew against West Ham, I wasn't even in the squad. It was a derby, I think, for the reserves playing. So the result comes through that we're 1-0 up. Brian Kidd's been sent off, and we end up drawing the game. We should have won the game. We end up drawing the game, so he's sort of banned for the next game. And, Monday morning you come in and say, right, you're travelling. And I'm like, all right, okay, I'm there to get a bit of experience. And
there's not a big squad going though, is there? There's only one sub. So
there's only one sub.
14 of you or something.
Where was the semi-final played at?
Ellen Road.
Oh, wow.
So
Old Trafford to Ellen Road, your first two games.
Not too bad then, is it? They clock up in your first two games.
I was against West
Ham, yeah. So I'm there, and I've gone down. We're going down for the pre-match. That's it. Me and Joe McBride. And Joe's thinking he's got a chance of actually starting or being on the bench. And I'm thinking, hey, I think you will. I think you will, Joe.
I think you'll be in, Joe. You've done amazing, Joe.
We pressed the button for the lift. The lift doors open, and who's there? The manager. So the manager walks out, and we walked in the lift. And as we walked in the lift, he turns round, and as the lift doors are shutting like this, he goes, "You're playing, you're not." And Joe McBride's face just went like that. And I went, I think he's got it wrong, Joe. He's pointing at the wrong person. And I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if he had, because he was quite like that.
This wasn't Howard Kendall, was it? It's before
this
Howard
was Kendall. This was Gordon Lee. Okay, he was a little bit dippy, shall we say. But I got the opportunity, and Frank Lampard's dad scored the winning goal. And if you ever see the footage, it's quite memorable, because he does a little jig around the corner. But that was my second game. I was on 750 quid appearance money and 750 quid if we won.
Oh wow! Imagine basic wage wasn't
150 basic.
Yeah. So I get in after the game, and I'm like 750 quid here. We've lost the game 2-1, and then I've looked around and I've seen Bob Latchford, Mickey Lyons, a lad called Dave Lawson, who was a keeper, Andy King, John Gidman.
Kingy, what man he was, Andy King as well. And Mick Lyons, is that the big centre off?
Yeah.
And Kingy, they were all crying because they'd missed out on playing at Wembley. A lot of them had played at Wembley, see. So easy to play at Wembley.
Win bonus.
And well, for them,
they're not bothered, but you're there.
Yeah, and I'm like, and then I realised that, we've lost a semi-final really. And, but you learn from that, because then, you don't want to get beaten. I never lost a semi-final after that. Every semi-final I went into, I didn't want to be Mick Lyons crying. No. I wanted to get and play at Wembley. I was lucky. I played at Wembley 13, 14 times.
Poignant moment for you, really.
Didn't you play there as a young kid as well at Wembley?
Yeah, I was 15.
Yeah, for Wales.
Played for Wales, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
A poignant moment for you, really, when you see them lads crying.
And I was the only one that made it out that team.
The Wales team.
Yeah, and I wasn't the best player in the team.
So why do you think you made it and they didn't then?
I just maybe you're at the right club at the right time. Maybe they're a little bit unlucky. I mean, they had Clive Allen, Andy Ritchie, Wayne Clark, all playing in the side. Had a couple of other good players, Brendan Ormsby. So they had a good side. But the goalkeeper was a lad called Mark Hansen, who signed for Everton with me. He was a goalkeeper, but he was only about 5'9". And the other keeper that they'd signed as well, George McCulloch from Scotland, who played for Scotland schoolboys, was about 5'9". They were too small, but they'd signed them. And Mark Hansen overtook George McCulloch, but they couldn't sign one without the other, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So that was it. They'd finished. I went back to Wembley about 4 or 5 years later, and I'm walking down the tunnel to go and have a warm up, and I get a tap on my shoulder, and I turn round, and it's Mark Hansen, the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at him, and he's in a policeman's uniform. He's actually on duty. So we both got back to Wembley.
But not quite how he dreamt it when he was a kid.
He did tell me he was on double time.
Well, happy days then.
I've not seen him since.
So it's mad to think you started and you came straight in that team as a centre back. Because I would literally looking at you, you're not the tallest and you were quick. So why not play left back? Do you think left back would be a better position as centre off?
My quality on the ball as a young kid wasn't good. So I was a bit erratic. Right. I was head down and sort of battering into people, and
that was your strength, like your tackling.
But I was always a centre back. Every team I got into, I played left midfield.
You were quick as well, though, Kev, weren't you?
But every team I played in, I played left midfield. But when I got to the first team for Wales, under 15s, and in all the trial games I played midfield. And when I played in the final trial game, they played me centre back. I remember playing at Knighton, and I played for 20 minutes, and they took me off. I was in the changing room, and my dad walked in and threw the boot, just missed me dad, hit the door, and then, do you remember Chris? You know Chris Whitley?
Yeah.
Well, Chris walked in behind him. He was one of the selectors. And
Great guy.
He said, "You all right?" And I said, "All this way and you've taken me off after 20 minutes." He said, "Yeah, there is a reason." I said, "Why is that?" He says, "You picked."
Yeah.
You know, have
that's
a look
all right then. Pass me boot.
Yeah. Sorry, Dad.
But for them to have the foresight to say, actually, centre half.
I was going to say, who's making that call to go, right, we've got a left midfielder
shaped
here.
your career,
He's not like you're not like massive in terms of tall. We're going to play him centre half. Who's making that call?
Well, obviously coaches.
Yeah.
I think Colin Harvey was a big one for it, the way that he played. He's the one who introduced us to squeezing up, wasn't Howard.
So if you're them then, Kevin, they're looking at you, what would you say that they're thinking at that time? Is it like Sam says, is it because you're quick? Is it because you're aggressive? Is it?
Well, I'd improve in my heading because I had to because of the size. And we had a swing ball. Yeah. And I wouldn't go home until I've headed it, I think it was 10 times consecutively. So if I get to 9 and miss the 10th,
is that where you got to time your leap to get high enough to get this swing ball?
1, 2, 3, and you jump. And I had a good leap, a standing leap.
Yeah.
I needed a run up.
Yeah.
So I was quite good at that. And then I mastered the way that, if I'm playing against bigger blokes, I'd bang them with my backside or little touches.
You're strong.
So I told you that when you come to Chester, you need to work. And you went back, didn't you, for a loan? Said, Sam, you've got to work on your upper body.
Yeah.
You're getting pushed off. When he first come, he was getting pushed. It's like Ruben Caldwell, is it, at the moment?
Yeah.
Gets pushed off the ball. He won't do in 2 or 3 years' time.
Yeah.
Because he looks as if he can have the physique. What you got to watch is he doesn't get too top heavy. Yeah, because it's so important that if you are small and especially when Sam was as a winger flying, you needed to sort of work on a weakness, and that was a weakness.
You haven't left the bench press since, have you, Sam?
But then in the future, I ended up that being a massive strength of mine.
Your arms, wasn't it? Your arms,
the arms are really strong. But the advantage with your pace, though, it's like when you watch Liverpool play now. You can stay on the halfway line. You can press out the pitch because no one's doing you in behind, are you? So your whole team.
You actually show the opposition where to play it. You show them a space to knock the ball.
And I bet your fellow centre half loved it as well, because notoriously back then they weren't that quick, but they know I've got Kevin Ratcliffe next to me.
We did have a quick back four.
All of you?
All of us, yeah. So you go from Pat Van den Houw, myself, Derek was quick. Dave Watson, when he come in, was quick, believe it or not.
Big lads as well, they're quick.
Yeah, and then Gary Stevens.
He's rapid.
He was a top player.
Gary was, I would say, one of the fittest guys I've ever trained with.
Wow.
He was like he could have ran in the Olympics at any event. Yeah. He was so fit. I think I had the edge over him because I was quicker off the mark. But if I went over 15 yards, then I think Gary would have been able to catch me.
Yeah. You were saying it a little bit. Guys, you were just saying it a little bit there off air, weren't you, about the Everton left back at the moment? You were saying how I think you were saying, Dave, weren't you, how he narrows in to show outside because he knows his strength is, look, if you want a foot race on the outside, and they do that like Sam.
I think that's all right if you've got 1v1.
Yeah.
But if you've got men round you, you've got to send him inside. For me.
Yeah. But it's interesting what you were saying about
keep him away from the goal. Don't be bringing him in.
Yeah, but having that back four that nowadays is so important that they're quick. Because like you say, they just say, go on, stick it in there.
Van Dijk does it. Liverpool do it. Liverpool do high press. Van Dijk stands on the halfway line because he's like, we can afford to press because, you can smash it in there, but I'll beat you.
Why do they keep going down that side? Go down the other side.
Well,
Trent Alexander's head.
And that's always what does happen. That sometimes do exploit.
Well, they do. That's. I mean, I think the lad Anthony Gordon the other night. Yeah, he was. The only problem with Anthony at the moment is there's no end product. He does all this good work, but there's no. And I think that'll come.
It'll come.
I'll come that in time.
Some prospect, isn't it?
Yeah, brilliant.
So you had a good start at Everton, but 23 years old, you get made captain. Were you what an achievement? But were you ready for it? I know you kind of half shared it a little bit, didn't you?
I was. Through the reserves when I was in the youth team. I can't remember if I was actually captain. I think I might have been captain. I know Pat Hurd the first year was captain because he was a year older in the youth team. And then the next year, I'm not too sure if it was either me, Paul Lodge or Steve McMahon. Steve McMahon was with us as an apprentice. So I'm not too sure if Stevie got it as well because Colin liked midfield players.
Yeah.
Especially fiery ones like Stevie. And then reserves, I become captain. And then I got thrown the captain's armband up at Dundee United in pre-season. So I was 22 actually.
Okay.
When I first got it, and when he's thrown at me, and I'm looking around the room, I'm thinking, what have they done wrong? I've got like Dave Johnson, play for Liverpool, centre forward, play for England, and I'm thinking he hasn't got it. There was Reid, he was there, Mickey Walsh, there was.
Why then? Why is he giving that to you? Because 22. That's a massive thing.
Yeah,
the captain of these, and these aren't like. I think these are men. These are proper.
Yeah, but it didn't matter who it was. I think I'd had a few sort of run-ins with older players on the pitch.
So they knew you could handle yourself and a bit.
Well, I wouldn't back down. And if the ball come anywhere near him, I'd snap him again. And I even snapped the manager one day, Howard. So
of that Howard,
because he never picked me on the weekend. And I'd snapped the captain, Mick Lyons. So I was going round, and I was just like, my head was boiling,
just ticking them all off.
Yeah. That is obviously a bit of a culture. That's what I remember Peter Reid being like. Peter Reid used to join and train at Sunderland, and he'd go through like Alex Ray, then he'd go through Lee Clark, and I mean, everyone. Gaffer, what's happening? And he'd be like, sorry lads, I just lost.
The problem is he still thinks he can do it.
Yeah, he's 60 going around smashing people in a bar now somewhere.
Yeah, I bet he wish he was 60.
But we've said it on podcasts before, haven't we? We've said about like if you're going to play at the top level like you do, Kev, you have got to have that trait of an element of aggression, an element of arrogance.
You got to be nasty.
We're on the pitch.
I do feel you've got to be nasty.
You've got to have that will, that drive to win, haven't you? Like even last night, you look at the commentary, and you've got made me laugh. You've got like Rio Ferdinand.
Last night's probably might not going to age well, is it?
Yeah, last night, as in 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. Yeah, I always do that, don't I? But you look at like the high quality players, and they're all just very much talking about the Liverpool team, saying this lot are together, like that no one goes missing.
And they're not nasty. They want the Bergkamp, Mike Lowe, they're all like flair players. They're nasty. They've got
on the
proper
pitch.
edge.
Look at Jota. Robertson.
Edge.
They leave the foot in.
Yeah, of course they do.
They still leave the foot in, but it's knowing when to do it and when not. And the way that VAR is for Liverpool, I think VAR designed that. Liverpool designed.
Don't get me started on that. Anybody looks at my Twitter feed will see me slating Liverpool all the time. I can't stand them anyway.
So you're now captain, Kev, and only a year later you're at Wembley, FA Cup final.
Yeah,
what's it like playing at Wembley? You're the captain then, weren't you?
Yeah.
Captain that day.
It's 1984.
So you are.
I took over the captaincy in around about November time. After that game, when I said about Pete Reid coming, that was November the 9th, I think. And I think about a week or two, when Derek Mountfield got in, the Mark Higgins, who was playing alongside, actually got a hernia, which wasn't detected. And in them days, that was it. And it finished his career. But he stayed at the football club for maybe 2 years. That's my biggest regret, actually. On FA Cup final day, that I never got him coming up the steps with us, because he was the captain, the year before. And I actually believe that if Mark Higgins would have been playing, then Howard wouldn't have signed Dave Watson from there on, the first £1 million centre half.
Wasn't he left-footed as well? Higgins?
Yeah.
So did you play with him? Because even though you can play two,
not left-footed.
No,
he wasn't.
No,
but like nowadays you play two right-footers.
Yeah, you would have thought the way he played with his right foot, you would have thought he was left-footed.
Who played right side, Kev? Out of you two lefties?
Me and Dave. Me and Iggy. Me.
You played right.
Yeah. It's strange.
What you like on your right?
Well, them maybe not as good as I am now.
You can still catch people with it.
I never played on the right-hand side ever. So I was always on the left-hand side. And it's easier than being a left-back there, because it opens the pitch up a little bit. And I was, I could spray the ball a little bit. But when you've got that little narrow to knock balls into chest of players or knock it over the top, and it's all about timing of when to play which ball.
Yeah.
But as centre-back, it just sort of opened that. I was so comfortable at left-back because I'd been brought up. As left centre back.
Did you have that like diag? Did you hit a diag?
That was my.
You had that as well, didn't you?
Yeah. So Trevor Stephen made my bad balls into good balls. Yeah. I mean, he was phenomenal. By the way,
Conor Cody talks about the same thing when he had Doherty, didn't he, at Wolves? And he would hit a diag. Doherty would make it the same.
Was that a clearance or was that a diag?
But you would shift out your feet and put a diag. And Trevor.
Well, I had a great understanding with when Gary Lineker come. We had great eye contact together, and I'd look at him, he'd look at me.
You told me about this when I was at Chess.
Ping, and I used to ping balls over the top to him, and it just had to be into the space.
Yeah.
And it just like what Russia used to do.
Not in the stand.
No.
I'm a lefty as well, Kev. So mine always used to go in the stand. You're not supposed to.
That's why you were at Exeter.
Kev, I remember you telling me when I was at Chester, you were talking to me about it, and you said Lineker would come short, and he would just look at you, and you knew when he run short that he wanted it long. So he would come in towards you. As soon as he started running towards you, you would put in behind. Lineker would spin, and he said he'd get in for fun off your balls all the time.
But you had to know that he was going to do it.
Yeah,
you had
that relationship.
The other one was Adrian Heath.
Yeah,
Inchy was absolutely brilliant at that. He was what I called a foreign centre forward. He used to do a lot of running to make space for others. Come short. If he comes short, you go long. If he goes long, he'll come short. And you've got to know that.
Yeah.
So, and the other lad that used to do it or played against, it was Rudi Voller. So for Germany.
Yeah.
So Eric Young was playing for Wales and
against Rudi Voller.
So
is that? I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful, Eric. Is that a mismatch?
Well, Rudi Voller was going short, and Eric was marking him tight, and I'm going, Eric, don't go, don't go.
He's going to spin you, and you're not going to catch it. Yeah. Just spinning him all night long like that.
Eric Young.
Then when he was going wrong, I said, let him go, let him go.
Eric's having an attack in the second half.
Then it was it's like you say, you play with players that obviously don't understand maybe as quick as you. I think that's the difference between top players, and lower league players, is that you adapt very quickly. You sense players.
I mean, we'll come on to that a little bit. I was like to ask you that as well, because obviously there's a big difference. You are playing at the top now, and obviously in a bit when we come on to management, you're then. Well, some of us lot working. We'll come on to that in a bit.
But still on the FA Cup, so that win, who was it against in that final in '84? Watford.
Yeah. So John Barnes playing.
And what was the score in the game?
2-0.
2-0. Comfortable game.
Very comfortable in the end. I'd never caught what was the lad's name? Scottish lad. Went abroad, played for Rangers.
Was it Watford?
Played for Celtic and Rangers.
Oh, Mo Johnson.
Mo Johnson. So Mo Johnson played with a lad called Riley.
No, the Gingers.
I don't know if it was O'Reilly.
Kev, ask some more questions about Ginger players. I'm straight there.
And they caught them offside every time. I've looked at the game only maybe once or twice, and I got bored watching it because the whistle was just blowing every time, catching them, especially second half. But there was an incident in the game where John Barnes gets through and sort of fires it past Nev. And John Bailey gets back and gets a touch on the ball. It goes out for a corner, and the referee gives a goal kick. And that for us was the turning point in the game.
Yeah.
John Bailey, right? It's funny that John Bailey. So I was at Sunderland with Peter Reid, and I think we were playing Everton away for Sunderland, and we come down there, and John Bailey was there, and John Bailey's getting interviewed for Radio Merseyside, like live on the radio, and the reporter's like there. So we're walking past, and Peter Reid's like, "Oh, that's me, mate. I'll speak to him after." And John Bailey's on Radio Merseyside live, and the woman's gone. Anyway, John, it's nice to see you looking so fit, aren't you? You look really healthy. He went, "It's all the shagging I'm doing." He said it live on Radio Merseyside.
And he's the only person that wasn't. I'd like to apologise to the listeners at home.
He was the
so he's a good liar as well.
He was the comic of the changing room, John Bailey. He was absolutely a diamond. I remember, I was playing for the first team, and when they moved me to left back, that was my duel, me and him. So I get picked instead of him. We're playing at Leeds, and a Welsh lad called Carl Harris was playing for Leeds, and he was absolutely rapid. So before the game, Bales comes up to me and gives me a little bit of advice. He says, "Rats," he says, "you want to watch that Carl Harris?" I said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "Why is that?" He says, "He's as quick as a leper." And I'm like, how fast are lepers?
My fingers and my arms falling off, but I'm really quick. I'm really quick.
But that would be when Howard had him, he took him as a rehabilitation coach. Was that in the pub? But Howard took him to Sheffield United, and towards the end of the season, they've booked a trip to Magaluf, right? So he's on the staff, is John Bailey. So Howard gets him in before the game. John Bailey's not in the room. So he starts laying into the players before the game. He's not been doing too well. And he says, "I've had enough of this." He says, "We need a result." And I said, "I don't want any of them." About 4 games left. He said, "I don't want anybody mentioning Magaluf ever again until after the last game of the season. And if anybody does it," he says, "I'm telling you, we won't be going." The door opens and Balesy's got a pair of Bermuda shorts on, sunglasses and a Hawaiian top. He says, "Who mentioned Magaluf?" And that's the type of, and obviously they'd set it up, but he was an absolute
love all that.
He's not too good at the moment. It's John. He looks, a lot older than what he is.
Was he?
Yeah.
God bless him.
You, Sam.
So I mean, so the FA Cup then as well was massive, wasn't it?
Massive,
like
mate.
That is like back in the 80s.
We had before. Well, what you do is you get up in the morning, and from 9 o'clock, whatever, you're on TV right the way through.
Best ever.
Yeah.
And we were delighted that Freddie Starr had turned up for us, a big Everton fan.
Yeah.
So Freddie Starr turns up, and we're all hanging out the windows at 8:30.
In the hotel.
In the hotel, and he's dressed up as Adolf Hitler with wellies on, going up and down, which you most probably wouldn't be able to do now.
Probably not getting away with that these days so much.
And he's doing his show outside.
The full,
you know, and they're filming it and everything.
Yeah.
And then he sits down with us for a pre-match meal. And now you've got to remember, Freddie Starr was earning per show 84, about 20 grand a show.
Yeah.
He was the massive star. And he sat on our table having a bit of pre-match, can't take his eyes off Nev. And he's looking at Nev and he's saying, "You're brilliant. Well, you're the best. Yeah, you're my hero. You are." And Nev's there, fucking knobhead.
Neville's not giving him anything.
Nothing at all.
You're all going brilliant. Freddie Starr. Neville just doesn't care less who it is.
You know, and then I'll tell you who we'd signed as a reserve keeper was Pat Jennings.
As reserve keeper?
As reserve keeper.
Not bad number 2, is it?
So Pat Jennings is sitting down. We've only brought him in for the game just in case, because I think Bobby Mims or Mike Stowell, whoever was there at the time, got injured. So he's got him just in case, you know, Nev or somebody gets injured. So he's sitting down there and he's like, we're having a chat with him. You know, really nice fella is Pat. And he turns around to me and he said, "Right, I'm just going up in your room. What time's the meeting?" And everybody goes, "What meeting?" And he went, "Well, obviously you've got to have a meeting, haven't you? We're playing an FA Cup final. It's not a league game. I mean, you can understand if we haven't got a..." He said, "No, we never have a meeting." He went, "You never have a meeting?" He said, "Well, how do you know what you're doing?" He said, "We've already done it. Yeah. We've been training all week." So, you know, that's when, you know, you're looking at him and how good of a player or goalkeeper he was. And he's had meetings all his life before every game. Different. And we have maybe one every now and again.
I was going to ask you, what was like, obviously modern day, it's analysis coming out your ears, kind of overkill at times. What was, before a game, was anything said, or was it just go out and play?
You had the lads motivating each other, slaughtering each other, keeping each other on the toes.
And is that like with Freddie Starr, Kevin? Is that like a bit of genius? Like he's having pre-match with you? Is that a bit like to keep your minds off it?
Well, they had Michael Barrymore at theirs. And they were both live on TV, link up from both hotels. And our hotel was rammed with supporters outside chanting and everything. Yeah. And Michael Barrymore turned round and he says, "Freddie, how come you've got more people there than I've got over here?" He says, "I'm a bigger star than you." You know, just cutting down.
But it's even the thought now, isn't it, of having like...
Plus we didn't...
That's what it should be like,
Liverpool in the FA Cup final having like John Bishop turn up for the pre-match meal.
But the FA Cup was a massive... Like, they have a song, you have songs and everything. Did they have a song?
Oh, yeah. I missed out on the top of the pops. I had an international game to play. So I think me and Nev were the ones that missed it.
Neville wouldn't have done it.
No. So I think they were on Wogan as well. Here we go. Here we go, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah. Here we go.
Was it? Oh, we'll have to find that.
Side by side.
We're definitely putting that up.
That's going up.
And the other one, By the Farm, all together now.
That was the other one?
They wrote that song, yeah. A couple of them were Evertonians.
It was such an amazing event.
What a day. It was literally the highlight of the year.
Yeah, but the same way me and Gavin spoke about before. You'd get up in the morning, you'd have your mates come around, you'd have like your sweets and everything ready, and you were there for the game. So that was, you won it that year.
Yeah.
And the following year was the
Man United game.
Man United one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was Kevin Moran got sent off. That was the first person ever to get sent off in FA Cup.
Yeah, big change because Frank Stapleton went from centre forward, who I enjoyed playing against Frank, and he went from centre forward to centre back. And had an absolute brilliant. He absolutely murdered Sharpie and Andy Gray, and they turned around and said, "Well, we played the European Cup Winners' Cup final on the Wednesday, and then play the FA Cup final on the Saturday." And they say they're knackered, you know. And I'm like, "No, it's not. They're not knackered. This is just that he's played really well against you."
So you won. So that's amazing. You won the FA Cup, then Man United. The Norman Whiteside was only 17-1, and he bent that. He bent the one at the top end.
I blame Nev. If you have a look how close Nev is to the post and he gets a touch on it, a little finger on it,
he should have saved it.
So if he was just off the post to touch, then he would have saved it. And I've told him all the time. I always tell him.
I'm sure he probably didn't agree with that.
Yeah, I told him about that. I told him about the Romanian one.
Love it. So you won the league then in 1985, 84, 85, 86,
Yeah,
86,
we won the league. Man United won and we won it quite comfortably, really.
So that team, I mean, that team is Neville Southall in goal, who was brilliant, one of the best in the world. Gary Stevens right back, who's unbelievable. You, Derek Mountfield,
Pat Van Den Houw.
Pat Van Den Houw left back. You've got Trevor Stephen on the right. Yeah. Kept rapid. Kevin Sheedy on the left, unbelievable. Wandover left foot.
You're right there.
Ridiculous.
Scary.
Then you've got Reed and Bracewell.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
And then Sharpen.
That is horrible.
Who was it? Sharpen?
Gray.
Sharpen.
Adrian Heath coming off the bench.
Adrian Heath actually started and got injured. He was flying. He'd got something like 12 goals in 14 games. Andy Gray he'd been on the bench all the time.
Had he?
And I always remember going into Sky Studio at Everton a few years after that, and Richard Keys was in there with Andy. And I'd just gone in to pop in to see him, and they said that Richard Keys turned around and said, do you know Andy Gray, your famous striker, doesn't know what you run out to? It was Z-Cars. He doesn't know what you run out to. I said, well, I'm not surprised. By the time he used to get on the bench, it had finished.
That's brilliant as well. I remember you, Kev, telling me as well, when I was at, I don't know, it was a Chester or Shrewsbury, and you see Andy Gray, he's hard as nails, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And you used to say, he used to hang it up for Andy Gray, early doors. He used to hang it up, and he used to jump with the centre off, and he'd try and headbutt the centre off.
He did it against Bayern Munich.
To try and smash him in there. He did that against Bayern Munich. Split centre off.
Split his nose and his lip here.
Just to lay down a marker.
No, he'd just been booted by him. And Andy Gray turned round and booted him. Reedy had just been done by... Lothar Matthäus. So Lothar Matthäus has done Reedy. He needs 8 stitches in his calf. Goes down.
He's done a few himself. So he dished a few out.
So he goes down the tunnel, while we're getting ready to take the free kick, and gets told he needs 8 stitches or something. You need at least 10 stitches, they said to him. He says, "Oh fuck that! Give us the sponge." Puts the sponge down his leg, and on this, if you see his legs just red, white socks are just red, and he pulls it up, and their manager's looking down the tunnel.
Is he all right? Is he the full ticket? Right, not really.
Right. And Andy Gray's then looking at me. I don't know if Reedy's off the pitch or he's come back on. And Andy's going, "Rats, just hang it up." And I'm going, "Andy," he went, "Hang it up." And if Andy says hang it up there, you've got to hang it up to him. Otherwise, he's going to hang you when you get in. And this is in the first half. So he should have been booked. He's not even been booked, and he's swiped out of this lad. So I hang it up. Perfect. It's coming. It's a dream for him. And I thought he was just going to flick it on. But he lets the fella come right up to Buchmar or something. It was an international, German international. And he just goes bang and headbutts him from the back. And he splits his nose and everything. And we heard this after. Apparently their manager turned to Howard Kendall and went, "Mr. Kendall, this is not football." And apparently we had all the lads on the bench then. And the players that weren't even on the bench were sat because they give their tickets away. Yeah. Right? And they all turned round together, apparently, and just went, "Fuck off."
You're not getting much back.
Not getting much change out of that.
You're not getting much out of that.
So it was just that. That's the type of player he was. I've seen... Andy's the only person I've seen score a half-volley header.
It took a bit of time to sink in there for a second. Half-volley header.
The technique is absolutely fun. But have a look at it. It's on YouTube. Notts County away in the FA Cup third round, and it's a half-volley header.
I've seen him score.
I've seen him do... Kevin Bond goes up for a header on a corner for us, and Kevin Bond gets there before him. He headbutts him in the back of the head, and the ball goes off the crossbar out for a corner. Yeah. And I've said, "Andy, have you just headbutted him?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "What'd you do that for?" He said, "I knew I couldn't get the ball, so I thought if I could play a cannon off his head." I'm thinking,
that's mental. What a team that is, though, isn't it? You think of that Reed and Bracewell in centre.
Well, Reedy, we all know what Reedy was as a player. Yeah. Brace was phenomenal, and the biggest compliment I can ever pay him is you did not realise how good he was until he wasn't there. Yeah. It's a hell of a hole to finish, to fill. The engine was unbelievable. But what people forget is that, he just did simple things, the two of them.
I was going to say, the two of them weren't flashing anyway.
Have you ever seen the goal against Sunderland when he pings it out to the far right side with Trevor Stephen? One of the best goals I've ever seen. He get on the volley. On the volley, he volleys it, must have been 40, 50 yards. Straight to his feet. Trevor whips past the fullback, who I can't remember who would be the left back then.
Can't think who the left back would be. Rogers Rogerson. Oh.
Yeah, it could have been. I thought it could have been Pickering.
Yeah.
It was like an up-and-coming young player. Down and out after that. He just gone, and then he whacked it into the near post. It's a fantastic goal.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Paul Bracewell, he's a win.
Have you seen
He's a moaner. We used to when I was a young kid coming through. He used to bat.
Got to go home. I've got to clean the pool.
He used to throw that in all the time.
I don't know if the missus has cleaned the 5th bedroom.
Yeah, he used to love all that one. That was on the pool. I've got to shoot off, lads. I've got to go and clean the pool. And he'd be like that. I've got the gardener in and all. He'd be all the time. He
was one of the first players that I knew that used to buy property and do it up. And
See, I love all that banter.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
We used to have Greavesy do that, didn't we, when we played? We played.
Yeah, class.
No, but if you want a really good footage to watch, is that people think that football's been invented since '92. Have a look at the game against Rapid Vienna when we have a phase of play where we keep the ball. The only two people that don't touch the ball are me and Derek Manfield, and we were popping it about everywhere. They couldn't get anywhere near us, and then it must be I don't know how many passes, how many minutes, and then Trevor finishes with a lovely turn and misses the target. If it goes in, it's the best goal that's ever scored. It is.
I can tell you where that footage is, Kev. Yeah. It's the official history of Everton FC.
Is it?
And the reason why I tell you that is because when I was younger, I was Liverpool, and I had on VHS Liverpool, the official history of, and my brother had Everton.
VHS, not Betamax, no?
No, just after that. But he would never let me watch Liverpool.
Right.
So he'd hide it everywhere, so I'd have to watch Everton. So all I'd hear is Z cars.
Yeah.
I'd see that Rapid Vienna game. And that was what was interesting when you talk about Colin Harvey. I remember vividly from that brilliant video. In there, I remember Howard Kendall, and it's just getting battered every week. Like he's really struggling. And then it's almost like a film when you watch that video. It's like a film because all of a sudden it turns. And obviously to this day, I've just thought, I wondered what changed. And like you were saying,
ever seen the film Howard's Way?
No. Yeah, I was going to say that's the story of Everton.
It's very good. It's very good, really actually.
Good.
The way
the
lads put it
together. The Everton fans love it all.
Yeah,
that's the history.
But it's put together with the right type of music. I mean, I'm an 80s man anyway with music. So if you like 80s music as well, and that's put in, they've got the like Keith Mullin from The Farm, who's talking.
So you got someone playing you. Are you like you're speaking on that? Do you feature?
Yeah,
on that,
we've done interviews, but you don't ask you don't hear the question being asked. So you're literally talking. I did my bit with Sheeds at a pub opposite the ground. I think they've flown over to Australia for Gary Stevens, who lives there. They've gone to America for Inchy. And they've put all little bits together and talk.
Got it all on there.
They've got it all on. It's brilliant. The way it's put together, the music that goes with it, is everything about it is really, really good. And if you're a football fan, you'll like it. It's like
definitely
watching. Is it the real Jack Charlton? That one.
Yeah,
there's a few. Yeah. But this one put really well together.
Love that.
That's a great team they've got there, then, isn't it? And that is full of like good characters as well. That is like, I mean, when you finish the game, knowing Peter Reid, knowing yourself, I'm thinking you're having a couple of beers after a win and all that.
Yeah. Well, we were made to. The manager made us. But when things weren't going right, Howard used to say to us,
"You have a big cigar, Howard."
He started off with a pipe.
Yeah, I remember we went to Marbella and with Peter Reid, and obviously he was there drinking with all the lads and that. And then Howard Kendall was there. He's like, "Howard's here," and obviously we were like, "Oh, it's Howard Kendall." Like really impressed, obviously. And he's just there with a cigar. Like we were like trying to speak to him. He's just like not interested.
I've never seen anybody like him get carried off the beach, tram lines. His feet being dragged, tram lines going up the beach, and you're thinking 5 o'clock, and you're thinking, "There's Howard, never to be seen again." 2 hours later, shaved, bright as a button.
Back out.
We used to call it the magic shower, and we didn't realise how much he drank until we got back to Manchester Airport and we had to pay duty on him. He was absolutely. He was honest. It was.
But you talk about work hard, play hard. I mean, that's what I always associate people like you, Peter Reid, with.
You can't win things.
Yeah.
Drinking at the wrong time.
Yeah.
So when we did have a drink, we drank at the right time. It was a big culture with Wales. Sunday nights, that was boozy night.
When we arrived. And the idea was because we're getting people from Port Vale, Charlton, coming into an environment with Ian Rush, Kevin Ratcliffe, Mark Hughes, Neville Southall, and we wanted to make them feel so welcome, and they were one of us. And that that's what happened to me when I got in the side for Wales. The Terry Oddis, the Leighton Phillipses, Di Davises, Joey Jones. You get in there, you have a few drinks with them.
I think that's a really important thing because Wales have got the same thing now, haven't they? Where you go in, you've got Aaron Ramsey, you've got Gareth Bale, you've got superstars mixing with lads playing whatever
League One.
Yeah, but a lot of them have come through together. That era,
is it? A bit different, maybe.
They've all come through as the 21s, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've talked before about when I was saying about Steve Evans, who I played with at Wrexham, on the Wales trip with Ryan Giggs. I went, what are you two talking about? How's that two-touch game going?
Yeah. And he's just doing a 12-minute run. He's chasing your balls. No, that was an important thing. See, them lads in Wales, the Gareth Bales and the Aaron Ramseys and everything, they come on leaps and bounds as soon as Craig Bellamy retired. For me, I think he held them back at least a year.
They've spoken a little bit.
We've had a bit of interesting discussion about Craig Bellamy because I've never met him and I don't think I would like him. But I heard about Steve Evans telling me that he used to hammer him, and I was like, just chin him, Evo. Just batter.
He was from inside the camp. He was an intimidating character.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But you think when they were like 21, the Gareth Bales and the Aaron Ramseys, and he's doing what I know. Some of the things that I don't think I can tell otherwise.
But what I will say about Bell, as I've told you lads, is that his professionalism, his work
ethic
Gemmo. was incredible.
He's another world like Gemmo, but
a better Gemmo.
No, a worse Gemmo. Horrible.
Better football, he said.
Or better football, I was thinking.
Yeah, well, he had a little bit. I don't think he scored as many goals as Gemmo.
Yeah.
But I think Bella's standards were so high, and he expected everyone else to be at this level.
Well, that's what people forget. What Gemmo was like, wasn't he? Nigel Jemson at Shrewsbury. His standards were high. And he wanted everybody else to be the same.
And that's exactly what it's like with Bella's. And he couldn't understand why he weren't at his level. And that was probably his weakness. And I definitely, when Bella's moved on, he did unbelievable for Wales, always turned up top pro. But when he left, lads came out of their shells massively.
John Gorman, I was at Northampton. He said exactly the same about England. He said when John Gorman said when Gaza was there, when Gaza came out the squad, Scholes, Beckham, all them started to excel because Gaza was such a big character, so dominant that everyone was a bit like
everybody else's characters.
Everyone was wearing him because it's Gaza, and he was dominating it. Suddenly he's not there. Suddenly everybody else starts to sprout up.
How was John? Was he good?
Oh, what a lovely!
He had an apartment around the corner from me in Spain. He's just sold the last couple of years.
Is he?
And we used to go out together. I tell you what, he comes round to our apartment and he says, "I love this view." So about a week later, he phones me up. He says, "Have a look at this picture I'm going to send you." He sends me a picture. He's painted the view. He's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I've got it up on my wall. Yeah, it's an absolute. Honestly, he was an artist. He was
amazing, Kevin. As in like a lovely bloke, man manager. And I was seeing the differences like with some managers, and I think a real test is when things don't go well. And when I got really badly injured at Northampton, and he used to ring me all the time, and I thought, what a class. We always talk about in the air, don't we? It's more important to be a good person rather than anything else. And he's a class person.
Was he?
Yeah. He was class with me.
Yeah.
Before we kind of get too far ahead, so you mentioned Rapid Vienna and Bayern Munich. Then European success must have been like out of this world. Was it 84, 85, was it?
Yeah, we're going, looking forward to the next season and, European football.
Yeah.
The European Cup, which was most probably a lot harder to win then than it is now. Because you couldn't afford to, it's a cup competition.
Yeah.
You think you're going over to the Ukraine or you're going to Russia. And if you get a defeat over there by 1 or 2-0, they're not going to concede away from home.
Yeah.
They block up shop. Yeah, we were looking forward to it, and obviously Heysel just hampered that. It was
so England. So obviously all English clubs got banned.
All English clubs got banned,
and that was you were in your prime, Evan.
Yeah,
at the time.
And
you literally were, Kev, weren't you? At that time, we were talking in the car on the way up. You were literally right out there when Everton were just dominating. You just couldn't wait for European football.
You win the league then 2 years later, and you still can't get into Europe. Yeah. Two clubs suffered, and that was us and Liverpool. Mm-hmm. Liverpool recovered. We've never recovered from it because we lost the manager. We lost the right hand side in Trevor Steven, Gary Steven. Peter Reid was coming to the end of his career. So I thought, or not I thought, but they thought. So they bring in Stuart McCall. If Peter Reid was coming to the end of his career, he was a better player than Stuart McCall ever was then. Because he was still better than Stuart McCall. And then Colin Harvey took over and starts bringing in like Sir Pat Nevin, Peter Bergery, and I'm I've known Colin since I've been 15, 14, and I'm thinking, they're not Colin Harvey players.
Not good enough.
Just not his type of player. You know, if he liked the win, he played with, you know, the only luxury that we had, and Colin didn't get on with him, was Kevin Sheedy.
Was he was the one luxury player in that quality team that I knew before? He was the one.
Yeah. Yeah,
but he was unbelievable.
He was just unbelievable. His passing was just out of this world. His vision, his touch was just made the pass. You know,
sometimes you carried him a little bit and defended a little bit because he did some.
We got things out of him.
Yeah,
we got a little bit extra because if he didn't, you know, but Colin wanted a bit more, and that's why I couldn't understand. You know, especially Pat Nevin. Although Pat Nevin's a great guy. Nice footballer, but for me, it wasn't a Colin Harvey. It wasn't maybe an Everton type of player. Peter Bergery as well. I thought Stuart McCall. I can understand why he brought Stuart and Tony Cotty to a certain degree as well. Even though he's got a good goal scoring record, he wasn't the type of player that I thought that Colin would have gone out and got.
What do you think was going on, Kev? Why was it? Do you just think he?
Well, Colin wasn't a good man management, as he's not a great communicator.
Just for the listeners, Howard Kendall left then, and then obviously you had all this success, won everything, but then Howard Kendall's left, Colin Harvey's then got the job, and Colin Harvey's been coach for the last few years, and being a manager is different to being the assistant manager or the head coach.
You're making them big decisions, but it's communication with the players as well, which is so important as a manager. And Colin wasn't a good communicator even when he was a coach. You know, he was a nasty bugger. You know, the training sessions didn't finish if you were on his side, and he wasn't winning. Yeah. He didn't finish until he started and still winning. So he passed.
Lads are like, "Come on, I want to get off it. Let the gaffer win with you." Flipping it.
Yeah, I've seen lads go like that when the teams get picked on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and Colin Harvey's on the other side. They're going, "I can relax." But do you know what? He's the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah. Colin Harvey. He is. You know, without him, I wouldn't have achieved anywhere near. You know, he was the drive behind us, and you know, good coach, very good coach. But management just didn't suit him. You know, and obviously bringing players in, and then by that time, Howard had come back, and he thought he could change it around, but no, I think the damage was done. You know, with the Heysel and everything. And I say I don't think the club's ever recovered. I think there's been a little period under Moisey, but that didn't last. You know,
and also nothing like what you've achieved. Like when we named what you won.
Yeah. I know it's if, buts and maybes, but you look at Forest had their little bit of success in Europe, Liverpool had their success, mid-80s. Do you think you could have gone on to that in a normal world?
I think we could have gone on and do what Liverpool did.
You think you could have gone and won those trophies?
You know, if you look at Forest, very, very similar to us. You know, in a way they've got 2 league championships. Because obviously they won 2 European Cups. They played in the European Cup. That's why they got the European Cups. But other than that, they sort of dwilted away. You know, that good side, the John Robertsons of the world, and McGoverns and Martin O'Neills and Trevor Francis. You know, it's one of them that when you look back, there's certain teams that you can name right the way through. Yeah. You know, like your Blackburn team of the 90s and things like that. You know, Liverpool, you'd be very hard because they've had that many good teams. Yeah. It's very hard to name a team from that era, you know, and, you know, this team at the moment is most probably the best Liverpool side ever, you know, and when you think of the players that they've had, and in the past, you start picking players from the best or doing the best. You can have a debate about every position, every player that goes in, that you could say, you know, no, what about him? You know, so if you go for the right back, people say, Trent Alexander, Phil Neal, Stevie Nick, Alex Lindsay, you know, Joey Jones, Alan Kennedy, that's the other side. You know, then you got your centre back. So you got Van Dijk, Alan Hansen, Lawrenson, Emlyn Hughes. You know, there's just so many good players. They've won that much, so they're going to have good players. But you know, I can't, for me, think that never a side would play a Liverpool side, a best ever would play without an Alan Hansen, a Graham Souness, Kenny Dalglish.
They're still getting.
Definitely. Yeah. Kenny Dalglish, by far the best player I've ever played against.
Is he?
Why was it? His movement, his touch, his vision, skill?
Well, he used to play in a number 10 role that nobody thinks that was being played in the 80s.
It was all 4-4-2, wasn't it?
Yeah. But they always played with a fault. You know, with just the striker was Rushy.
That's difficult. Rushy stretching you, so he's threatening behind all the time.
But then you got Dalglish. They weren't picking him out; they were just picking the space, knowing that he could outrun anyone. The one thing that Rushy was, it was fast. He was lightning, lightning quick. But a good finisher. Never used to overstrike a ball. He just used to place it, and he's.
But the combination of him trying to go in behind, so you're worried about him, but then Dalglish is going short, and he can kill you from in the hole.
Don't go in there. Yeah. Thank God Eric Young never got a big move.
Putting your midfielders in.
Don't go tight unless you are rapid. Do not go tight. Yeah.
So it's they were great. They've had some great sides, and we were on the verge of maybe keeping that going. And the one thing, as soon as you lose the manager. That was the thing for me. That we lost the manager, and I think that was it. That was the decline.
And not wanting to sort of go into negatives, but we spoke a lot on the podcast previously about resilience, and we know, like, obviously you've won leagues and cups, but there's obviously the 84 League Cup final, 85, 86, 89 in the FA Cup final. Obviously that's defeat there. With all the success that you've had, how do you then learn how to deal with them? Because you've said before about seeing teammates when you were younger crying on the pitch, and it's hard to overcome.
The hardest one was the second one against Liverpool.
Was it 86 or 89? Sorry,
89.
What was that? Was that
the Hillsborough Rush when it come on? Scored two.
Going into the game, you're not got a chance.
So that was after the Hillsborough thing in the semi-final. So you're playing Liverpool in the final after Hillsborough.
Yeah.
So say that again, Kev. So you're saying the biggest problem was you knew going into the game
you can't win it.
Everybody wants Liverpool to win.
Yeah.
It's like Liverpool had to win it, didn't it?
Everything about the day was about Liverpool.
Yeah.
We weren't mentioned. We may as well have not been there.
Was that not a motivator, or were you just sort of consigned to the fact that
when you got 100,000 there, it's you want to give everything. It was close, but everything the build up, and the only ever time I've seen that again was Everton in the cup final in '95.
Yeah,
against
United. Right out scored.
Right out scored. Right, and there's everything's blue and white. I played in the game beforehand in an over 35 game, and we won. And I walked over to, I think it was Dave Watson, said, Waggy, good omen that. We've won 1-0, go and win it. And I'm saying, look at the crowd. And because of I think whoever the sponsors were that day, their symbol was blue and white. So it's all around the ground, even in the Man United end. Yeah. And, psychologically, it's
like a home
game. Subliminal thing, isn't it?
I'd never believed in psychology before. It was never around. It was just about being strong-minded and getting on with it. You do your own sort of stuff, whatever. So you've got to find what suits you on match day and not what it suits the psychologist. I think the first time I ever got him in was at Shrewsbury. Yeah. And he's coming in after seeing Sam, and I'm having to mentor him.
I'm a psychologist, not a magician. I'm like, Jesus, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with these lot?
I had him only because
I think I took him for a pint after.
That was only because Roland wanted him in. And I'm thinking.
So how did, in them cup finals again, how are you dealing with that? Because that's obviously a lot in quick succession. I mean, I remember the 89 cup final because my brother kicked my head in that day. Because obviously I was bragging a bit too much.
Which was the 89 one then?
89, Stuart McCall got two, didn't he?
Rush come on and scored two.
Aldridge scored after 4 minutes. Then McCall scored in the 89th minute.
89th minute, volley, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Then Rush came on and scored. Then McCall scored the chest volley. And then Rush scored the winner.
Yeah. Remember that,
And then I got my head kicked in.
But that was Peter Beardsley as well. What a player he was. He come to Everton.
Pedro.
What was he like? Pedro. We've had this before. What was he like? What was your recollections of him then?
Me? I love Pete. I got on really well. I met Pete on holiday when he was at Carlisle.
Yeah.
He went to Carlisle, I think, on loan or something, and he'd gone over to Vancouver.
Yeah, he went.
Yeah, and then come back, and I think he was with Jack Charlton at Newcastle, and we were in Portugal, and I met him and his wife Sandra. We had a little one, and my little one's now 40, and he was looking after her with his wife at the slides, the water slides and everything, and Peter couldn't swim. So he didn't want to go. And I said, no, Pete, you've got to go. You can't drown there. I said, I'll help you. So I was waiting at the end. It was like like a little kid where I had to wait for him to come down the slide just in case he went under, And we got on great. And, I remember coming in one day when he was at Everton, and I looked up at my spec, and there's all these turtles. He's put all these turtles on the deck, on me peg. And I says, what's this? And Pete comes in. He said, they're for your lad. I said, what do you mean? He said, they're for Dino. I said, all right. I said, he said, yeah. He says, me and Sandra were looking at him in the players' lounge on Saturday, and he was playing with the Turtles. He said, but my lad don't like them, so you can have one. And they were hard to get out. I mean, I was queuing up outside Toys R Us for 2 hours before Christmas to get bloody Raphael or whatever his name was.
Just amazing.
Yeah, but what a, really nice guy, but what a football. I mean, they've had Kenny Dalglish, and then they get him in, and I'm like, some of the things he used to do, and then we get him. And he was brilliant. He was so far ahead of the players. He was another level again. Yeah. You forget how good he was.
Talk us through your relationship with Ian Rush, because I've heard some amazing things. Obviously, Ian Rush was your roommate at Wales.
Yeah.
And Ian Rush was banned from driving, apparently. So you used to. This is
take him
true.
in, yeah.
You used to take him to training at Liverpool.
Tell me this
then
isn't
you
true,
went
Kev.
training at Everton.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is the equivalent of Seamus Coleman taking Mo Salah into training now, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. It's like the same. That is unbelievable. Pop your betting Seamus before.
No, we obviously mates
from back
have been, Christ, he's just down the road in Flint. I'm from Connorskey. I'm living in Connorskey. I must have been 21, and I'm taking him in because he's been banned from driving. And I'm taking him in. I drop him outside the Shankly Gates. I won't go inside the Shankly Gates.
You're captain of Everton at the moment. No.
I'm not a captain. Right. I'm not even in the side at times. And then we play and we got beat 5-0. He scores 4 goals.
You take him home.
I've got to take him home. He's asked for a lift after the game. So I've not played. And I've gone there. I'm outside the changing room. He comes out. He's got the match ball. And he goes, do us a favour, Rats. I said, what? He said, can you get them signed by the back? I suppose I'm paying for the tunnel as well, am I? That was it. But that must have been, I must have been 20, 21, because Caroline wasn't born. Because a couple of days later, pre-season this was, that he comes to our house, but we've gone into hospital to have the baby in the middle of the night, and he gets dropped off at the bottom of the street. I live on the biggest hill in Connorskey, by the way, right? And I'm not in. So he had to walk 20 minutes down the road to his auntie's house.
This is the Liverpool centre forward.
And our arrangement was that I'd pick him up outside the club shop. I wouldn't come into the ground and wait for him. I said, and if you're not there, I'm gone. Yeah. And he was there every time. So, he used to...
I mean, that's an amazing story. How fantastic is that?
I got a call off him last year. I hadn't spoken to him for a while. Been to a dinner where he was in a dinner in London. Yeah. Asked me to go down. He said, I'm getting awarded for this, for some stuff I've got. So, for the football stuff that I've done. I went, well, what else would it be?
Football, not for brain surgery.
So we've last year he phones me up. He says, because he's 60 coming up, and he says, got a trip booked for us. Oh, right, okay, where are we going? And he's saying we're going to Cannes, all paid for. He says, get yourself to the airport. He says, and we're on a super yacht for 3 days. So there's me, Reedy, Ronnie Whelan, and Rushy. We do a bit of filming for this sort of thing that is going to go out hopefully in the next year or two. And we're on this yacht which has got 6 double bedrooms. Everybody's got a bathroom, and we're in Cannes, and everybody's looking. Who are these idiots? Who
are these? Who are these?
But we were doing.
Getting drunk.
I was sitting on the top deck with him one day, and we never went out because it was too rough to see. And we're there talking, and Rushy, I seen look at the jacuzzi, and I said to Rushy, Rushy, the jacuzzi. I said, do they fill it up every day and empty it every night? He said, yeah, they've got to. I said, oh, right. I says, why are they doing that? He says, well, if they don't, it'll dehydrate. I said, don't you mean evaporate? He still hasn't changed. He still hasn't changed. But what a journey. Everything was paid for. He got sponsors to sponsor it. And I think he's out there now. I just had word that he's gone out for a couple of days on this yacht again. So I've got to text him to ask him to look after it for me.
That's an amazing rivalry though from 2 lads, isn't it? Together to be like your you played against them a lot.
Well, it started off in school where he played for the Roman Catholics and I played for the the Protestant school. Even though I was Roman Catholic, he was
he's gone on to be like
but we got on. He signed for Chester the following year after I'd left and gone to Everton. and we got in the Welsh. And then I didn't see him for years. We played together when we were 13 on the under-13s when we were 12. He was a year younger and got in the side. And that's the first time we ever come across each other. And then we didn't really keep in touch. And then it wasn't until we both got in the Welsh squad. And I always remember him getting in the Welsh squad, and we're up at Scotland, and I'm on the bench. I got called in. It was after the England game when we beat them 4-1. I got called into that squad because Dave Jones had got injured, and I got pulled into the squad. So I had to travel up to Scotland on my own. Got to Scotland, he's there. Him, Joey, and Mickey. Me, Mickey, and Joey. We've stayed. The four of us have stayed really, really good friends ever since that day. Yeah. It was like as if you were one of the family. And we used to muck about, have a laugh, and but takes things serious as well. And then Rushy's on the bench with me that against Scotland, and Mike England turns to him and says, "Go and get warmed up." And he gets off the bench, and he's just standing there. And I'm going, "Rushy, have a run." So he's never warmed up before. Yeah. As a sub, he doesn't know what to do. Have a stretch. So he's
talking him through.
Wave your hand about. 10 knees to the chest. Things like. And it was just he'd never been a sub, so he didn't know what to do, how to warm up. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Yeah. Dave wants to ask you. Dave looked at that because I said to Dave, ask Kev about you scored he scored a 40. You only scored 2 goals in your career. He scored a 40-yard screamer. Dave looked it up and went, "Sam, it's not that.
It's not what you think it is.
It's 60 yards. It's going up by the day. Every time I speak about it,
goal? Bruce
Grobbler, yeah. It was going past the post, and he did ever so well to pull it back in.
How much do you give him, Kev?
That's very well. I was 66-1 to score the first goal on the day.
Worked out well for everybody.
That was going wide.
Yeah.
Everyone benefited.
It bounced about 6 times on the last bounce. I thought if I could spin it under his body, then I didn't get many opportunities. I scored 2 goals in 492 appearances, and I played for Cardiff, and on my debut I scored.
My debut for Cardiff.
Cardiff, yeah.
Mad, isn't it?
So I've scored with my right foot, left foot, and a header.
So we're coming towards the end of Everton. So Everton is all sort of finishing and everything. Then it must have been hard to leave Everton then. So you had your hernia, didn't you? Was that it then?
That was it. Yeah, pace had gone.
So 10 months. Pace was so important.
Well, it's not just that. Fitness as well, because 10 months out for an injury that should have been 6 weeks.
Where's Matt Hernia now? 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
Yeah,
3 weeks now.
You get back in 10 days.
This is not keyhole. This is like the full.
Yeah, but I think you've like 3 to 4 weeks. You're back, and
you don't see many people at the swimming baths now, do you? With a big scar in them, and that's normally just like a little incision.
Yeah. So, it was. I'd come back and things. It was just took too long. That 10 month. The pass back rule changed.
That must be. Yeah,
so all of a sudden, my pass completion had gone out the window. It's an F, never to me. It's an F. 99%.
Kevin Ratcliffe, 374 passes.
Second Neville Southall. So brilliant.
That must have blown your head off though to then not have that at your disposal.
Your fitness levels change because the ball's in play longer.
Yeah,
because you're not going back to the keeper.
It's a great addition to the game.
It is.
Brilliant. For the fans, amazing.
Yeah. If you look at some of them games, they're boring.
Yeah.
Because you look at Liverpool, they get a 2-0 lead, and all they're doing is passing it back to Bruce, and Lawrence gets it, puts his foot on the ball, and just a little tap back, and he picks it up. It's a best edition, I think. That's happened. There's been a lot of bad ones, but that's most probably one of the best.
There's a few head losses, weren't there, in the old pass-back days when they'd try and they'd basically mug the other team off, wouldn't they? And then someone would just come flying from nowhere, smash the keeper. Not having that. I used to love watching that.
But no, that was the end of me, really.
Was that hard to take then?
Yeah, because
how many years started Everton? 12,
14 years. 77 till 92. 15th season I was in. Too. So, but I started then picking up injuries, especially in my left knee. And I'd never, if you have a look at my career, most of my games are played before the age of 28. So, I'd only played in the last 4 or 5, just signed a 4-year contract, which was thankfully good. Yeah. I think the second year into it, so that'd be around about 28, 29, I got the injury. But I played most of my games. I don't think I played 100 games after 28.
Oh, wow.
For Everton.
When
did you retire?
It all depends who you speak to.
To you then, what's your version, Kevin?
I played at Chester for a little while, but I didn't enjoy it. I just played it to pick up a bit of wage and pay the bills.
Yeah. Mentally though, how do you cope with that? Because I mean, you've been you were at Everton.
Sam, I was going home and I was falling asleep. I was so physically tired. Never used to sleep. If I did, it was for like 10 minutes. But this was like becoming a couple of hours in the afternoon, you know. And then I'd get up. The next day, I'd get into training. I'd do a 12-minute run or 15-minute run on my own before the lads were training. You know, thinking I was getting my fitness back, wanted to get it back and everything. But things had just changed. It was, and then obviously, you know, it doesn't, nothing ends well when you're at a football club when you're injured.
We've spoken about this before. There's no loyalty.
No,
it's no thank you very much.
And I knew the writing was on the wall when Gary Ablett signed for Everton from Liverpool, you know, and I've come in the morning, knocked on the gaffer's door, and he says, I'll let you go, you know, and I'm thinking, all right. He says, but I want a fee. And I'm thinking,
come on.
Who's the manager then?
Howard Kendall.
Howard Kendall who said that to you.
So he said, I want a fee for you. He said, but you'll get the fee.
Oh, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute.
You should have said gaffer.
Million quid. That $1 million was never heard of then. It was, but it got around that he was looking for a couple of $100,000 for me. And I'm thinking, he's not going to give me a couple of $100,000, surely. So before the deadline day, he calls me in and says, we've had a change of heart. I'm going to let you go for nothing. And I'm thinking, well, everybody thinks I'm fucked now then, don't they?
Yeah, I think I'm finished.
Thanks very much.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a nice way to end that.
It's not nice. I'll always remember it. It couldn't have happened to a nicer person when Dave Watson, that was the hardest thing to taking the club captaincy off you.
Yeah.
So you've gone in and Dave, the manager says that I want Dave to be captain. You know, you're no longer sort of going to be in the plans as much. So I said, yeah, great. You know, because it was Dave, me and Dave got on great.
Yeah, he's good.
I thought it couldn't have been a better person. I wouldn't, would have hated to have thought it was Martin Keown.
Wrestling it off him.
It's the ruthlessness of football again, isn't it?
Well, that's what Howard was like. What made Howard a good manager.
It's high end again.
Didn't matter who you were.
Take the emotion out of it.
We had this when we had Joe and everything, like the ruthless.
Well, him in the biggest way of all.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and it proved out to be a success for the manager, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And the team. But everybody's got their own ideas.
Casualties along the way.
Yeah, there always is. You know, I remember that when I went into Shrewsbury and had to make tough decisions on people that had been there for a long time, but it just needed a big overhaul.
Before we finish with your playing career, I wanted to obviously touch on Wales.
Here we go, Gav. There's a shock, isn't it?
Just leave it,
every podcast we have to
can't
do, we
get
have to
through one
Wales.
podcast without you doing this.
But you had a good team. You had Seifel, Hughes, yourself, Rush. You went close in '86 to get into the World Cup. You was in contention in the qualifying. You're disappointed you never kind of.
I can't remember what it was for. The first one was. What we didn't make was against Iceland down at the Vetch, and I think we'd drawn the game. But Mike England was talking about winning the game by 6 and 7 before the game.
Yeah.
And he picked I think there was 7 players playing for Swansea.
Yeah.
He picked them.
At the Vetch.
And then he picked me, Peter Nicholas, and Joey Jones as the 3 centre-backs. Now, I didn't have a
3 centre-backs.
3 centre-backs, right? He didn't think that we played them back in then. That's what I mean. Everybody's bamboozled by the Premier League, thinking that there's been no formations or tactical things. Did we work on it? No. And he just threw my name and Peter Nicholas, and I thought, right, okay, Nico and Joey picking up, me sweeping behind. No, Nico was sweeping behind. He couldn't run. Nico was as slow as they come, as a midfield player. He could handle it in midfield, but he was never a centre half, and it was the first time he'd ever played there. Yeah. And they just ran riot, Iceland. They were just about getting them sort of centre forwards. Was it Goodison and Gulison? Some that went to I think his dad played.
Yeah,
so it wasn't a bad player, and they were quite physical in them days. The Icelandics and the Finnish were as well, and we drew the game. Floodlights went off. I think we're 20 minutes to half an hour off the pitch, and we come back on. Game ended 4-4. Then we played Scotland. Obviously, that was the big one.
The penalty one.
Yeah, well, we went up to Hampden, beat them 1-0.
Yeah.
Ian Rush with a blinding goal. Yeah. Sparky absolutely tortured Alex McLeish and Willie Miller, who were 2 good players.
Yeah.
And he battered them. Yeah. He absolutely battered them. And Rushy was just picking up bits, and we did. And there was...
The last game in the group was back at Cardiff. Then,
if you ask me which team, right, the high hated most internationally, would be Scotland.
Yeah. More than England?
Yeah.
Big statement from a Welshman, that, isn't it? Normally it's England, isn't it?
Honest, you ask a lot of the lads, and I always remember Graham Souness and Robbie James, most underrated player ever. Peter Nicholas was hated by Graham Souness, and every time he played against him, he did him. So Suey does Nico. Robbie James just goes bang and punches him in the back of the neck like a rabbit punch. He's like a break dancer, going down. And honestly, it was right naughty games, yeah. But we won the game 1-0, and then we get them back home. And the big thing in the game was
this in Cardiff, wasn't it?
In Cardiff, 50,000. Yeah, I think it was at Ninian Park. And first half, we get an early goal.
Brushy,
Sparky. Sparky gets an early goal, and then big thing happened just before half time. Who was the keeper was Jim Leighton. So Jim Leighton loses his contact lenses and can't see. So they bring on Alan Ruff, who, by the way, wasn't a bad keeper. He was known as a typical Scottish goalkeeper in them days where he used to make mistakes, but only against the best teams in the world. Yeah. The Brazil. He always used to joke about being chipped. I only get chipped by the best. Yeah. Eder, I think it was for Brazil. Yeah. And he come on, he had a blinder. I actually think we scored too early. You have a look at the penalty with Dave Phillips. It's a scandalous handball. Yeah. So 2 handballs in atmospheres like that. The biggest atmosphere I think I played in front of was maybe at Wrexham against Russia when I was first started playing. Yeah. And we were staying at the Bryn Howell down in Llangollen, and we went to the game and everybody was lying in the streets. It's a good 10, 12 mile, and all the way into the ground. They'd lined the streets clapping us in. It was like being at Wembley. Yeah. So that's the biggest crowd, even though it was only 30,000 there at Wrexham. Yeah. Then that's one of the biggest atmospheres that I've played in. That's obviously played against Brazil at Ninian Park, 52,000, but nothing like that. Yeah. And then you
throw that one in there.
But Scotland was a big one.
Yeah.
Scored against Brazil, got disallowed.
Human. Just give it a ref.
Is he 60 yards?
Yeah. It was 80 now. Yeah. And played in that. And I think biggest highlight of my career for Wales was playing at the Arms Park. Yeah. It was a dream of mine. Thought that, I was hoping that in my young career that I could actually play for Wales in both. It was like an ambition of mine to play for Wales in rugby and in football. But obviously, from 16, I had to stop that or choose one. So, football was the one that paid. Yeah. And, it was, to play at the Arms Park, even though it was a reduced crowd, was still and the biggest thrill, you'll say this, Dave, and people slaughter Welsh players for not singing the national anthem. The one thing I always wanted was people to sing that national anthem for me on that pitch.
Was it?
Yeah. Not for me to sing it to them, for them to sing it to me.
Did you sing it, Dave?
Yeah. When Gary Speed came in, he made everyone learn it.
Yeah.
I think
the tongue twister, is it?
Yeah. It's amazing though. Like now, Kevin,
what's the one now that they're singing before the game? That was unbelievable, by the way.
Yeah, Daffy Ewan, is it? The guy does it. It's old boy. He's got his song. It's incredible. But
and everybody joins in. It's like it's amazing. My hair's going on.
Honestly, it's amazing. But even the anthem now, they drop the music after the first sort of 5 seconds, and the whole stadium sings, and it's such a special occasion. Out of all the games I've ever played in, when they played that qualifier, the last game against Austria, that's the best atmosphere I've ever been in. I thought it was just
you have to take your cans off, don't you, when you're doing commentary, just to get the best.
So you listen to it on your headphones, that's loud, and then you slip your headphones off, and it's just wild, and it is. Wow. The Welsh fans, when they get going, because my early Welsh career was awful. Like, we were getting 2,000 and 3,000 at Clefley to come and watch us. And then by the time we got to the end, it was better. But now it's motoring, isn't it?
You'll get us tickets then, Dave, won't you?
Yeah. When they went to the Euros, and I was lucky to be there. I told the missus, I'll see you in 2.5 weeks, because I thought we'd be knocked out, and 6 weeks later I'm still in France. This is a new one on me, she said. Fog in the tunnel, it beats that one. And we're in Bordeaux for the first game, and I've never seen, it was just full of Welsh people. Yeah. But it was the age. The age was maybe 40 plus, because there was... Maybe they're thinking
because they'd never had it.
Never had it. Been waiting for this opportunity, and they might never ever get it again. It was absolutely fantastic.
I don't know if I've mentioned Bordeaux to you before. Dave
mentioned it a few times. That went well.
Cheers, Dave. But that was just one of the trips. I mean, where was it?
I mean,
Dinard, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
We stayed there as well. That's where we were based.
Yeah.
That was where the HQ was. The press.
I mean, that's a podcast in itself.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
it was
amazing.
unbelievable. What a lovely, lovely town. It was like a little Wales,
like sleepy old place, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was like a Welsh village on the sea, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And they
could have been Connors Quay, couldn't it?
Yeah, it wouldn't have been Connors Quay. It wasn't rough. And that's where Psycho House is, where Alfred Hitchcock he got the idea of the house from there.
Yeah.
So the house is actually there on the point.
Yeah. Go stay there then.
Yeah.
In the Stiffs with Budging Motors. Budging Motors are on Stafford Park in Telford and Featherbed Lane in Shrewsbury. For all your car needs, contact Budging now.